G'day there, podcaster.
Yeah, welcome to our special Meet the Team episode with the guru in the newsroom, Ash Gardner. How you doing?
I'm good. Hello.
People would hear your voice all the time. I mean, you pop up in the podcast quite regularly. You also hosted with Belle on International Women's Day, so I'm sure for regular listeners, they'd be familiar with your story.
But if you don't listen to the show normally, like the on-air show, then you wouldn't actually hear your news if someone is just a podcaster.
Sorry, Ash, we cut your news out. I don't know if you know that.
I know.
You always listen.
So sad.
Well, it's just, I suppose, if you listen to like the next week, then, the story might have
It's not
developed a bit
relevant.
by then.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But then I suppose you could argue back to us and say, well, you talk about things that have happened in the news sometimes, so why don't you cut all those bits out?
It's true.
True.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like Liam touched on there. So yeah, we did the show together for an hour for International Women's Day. We learnt a little bit about you there, but we can just rehash some cool stuff
absolutely.
that Ash does.
Love this.
Yeah, well, you're certainly not just news. That's not your entire life. You are the fittest person I think any of us have ever met. In fact, we were talking in the kitchen before, and you were saying how this Saturday you've got a wedding, and then you're doing just a little, what is it? You said, it's just a baby one the next day.
I've got a sprint triathlon the next morning.
Sprint
triathlon.
sounds. It sounds like, I'm just doing a quick little 100 metres. What are you going to do on Sunday morning?
So the sprint is a 750 metre swim, a 26k bike ride, and a 5k run.
Just a baby one. And I was like, so I was like, are you going to drink at the wedding? And you're like, nah, but like kind of a little bit because it's a wedding. And then you're like, it doesn't matter because it starts late. And I said, when does it start? And you said 9 a.m. Yeah.
On a
Like
Sunday.
some people are just wired different. Hey, I'm like, you would not catch me dead, especially after a wedding,
well,
doing
some
that on a Sunday
Saturday
morning.
mornings are like a 4:30 start for rides
Yeah,
at the moment.
rough.
So 9 is a little kinder.
Yeah, I just don't know how you do it though, because like I mean, you're doing this job, and then like literally every day I see on your Instagram story, it's like, oh yeah, you're just like you're throwing car tires out in the field, or you're like, I don't know, like swimming for like
Yeah, it is
7
funny,
hours,
like,
or it's wild.
It is funny, like on a Wednesday, and you log onto Insta and you'll see a story from you, Ash, and it will be like, oh yay, like did this the Savo, and it's like 20-kilometer bike ride, and then like a 20-kilometer swim, and it's like what the hell? Like all I've done the Savo is eat and sit at home.
I do also eat a lot around that. But,
I've seen you smash a schnitzel. I've seen you eat a big old schnitzel.
And we had a team lunch, and you had the schnitty, and you're like, yeah, it'll be fine, and then it wasn't fine, right?
No, that was not okay, actually. I had huge regret. I was getting the schnitz sweats as I was riding.
Schnwets.
The schnitz.
You also got a pretty athletic family. Is it your sister that plays AFL Women's?
Yeah, my older sister Jess played for the Bulldogs in the inaugural AFLW season, which was incredible. She's retired from AFLW and plays suburban footy now.
Yep.
But she kind of inspired me to give footy a go. I grew up as a dancer, and I was very not athletic at all in any way, shape or form. I was not a sporty kid. And as I got older, I'm like, I might give this a go. So I played, footy for a couple of seasons.
What was your position on the footy field?
I played forward flank most of the time, a little bit through the middle as well.
And of course, that's where you got your nickname, playing footy. Would you be willing to share that?
Of course. So my nickname at the footy club was Gash. Unfortunate, but true. And it came about because I was playing one day, and as I was tackled, a girl's boot stud went through my ankle, and there was about an 8-centimetre laceration. And when the coach was doing selection for after the 8 weeks, when I finally made my grand return to playing, he said something about my gash.
Okay.
And it stuck.
Yeah, there you go.
And here we are talking about it on this podcast.
Have you always wanted to be a journalist? What did you want? Like, when did you go from school to journalism school, then to radio? Like, what did you do between school and work?
Yeah, so in Year 12, I was debating between veterinary science and journalism. So I was really stuck in the middle, and then went down the journalism path. So studied journalism, and then my first ever gig was in Mildura. So
the Riverland, where Scudder's from, that you would have heard in the previous episode. Did you see any water rats while you were there?
No, a lot of snakes though.
Yeah.
Quite a few snakes. And there was a locust plague when I was living there.
Yes.
Which was bad because they would swarm around the bright lights of the studio at like 4 a.m. when I'd get in. So you'd have to run through the swarm and then get to your desk and then bat them out of your hair and your ears and stuff.
Were you working there in like 2014?
No.
When were you there? Do you know when you were there for?
Like 2010.
Oh, okay,
Right, because I was going to say there was a Triple J one night stand in Mildura. I think it was like a real good one. It was like alien violence. I heard stuff.
Was that in 2014?
I reckon that was like 14, like ages ago, before our time. But I remember like looking at that one, being like, I should go to that, but didn't. But I was hoping you could recount your story of going.
No, just locust plagues and things like
Ash,
that.
you grew up in Melbourne.
I did, yeah. So I grew up on the Mornington Peninsula, and then we lived in the US for a couple of years as kids.
Your mum's Canadian, right?
And my mum's Canadian, so we'd actually moved to the US for Dad's work, but my mum, is Canadian, so it helped with being able to fly back and forth and see them a little bit, and then eventually moved back to the Mornington Peninsula, and then I did my regional stint as a young journo, so Mildura, Albury, Shepparton, all the stops, and then came back to...
How long... Sorry, you go, Ben. Oh, no, Ben. No,
Liam, I insist.
I was just going to ask how long you spent in the United States of America, Ash.
2 years.
So did you come back with a little bit of an accent?
I sure did.
Wow.
I sure did.
Okay,
yeah, and I think because of my mum as well, there are certain words that...
I've never noticed you're very...
No, you're not anymore.
No, well, I've had a couple of news directors try and say, hey, watch that word because I'll
A
roll.
boot?
Yeah. A boot, yeah.
It's a boot, 7 o'clock, I'm out.
Well, sorry.
I was going to say, what does your dad do that made you go to America?
He was in the wine industry at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so we were living there, and like California, I remember doing a trip to the Napa Valley. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, amazing. But as a 10-year-old, you're like, this is boring.
Lame.
I wish he had worked there while I was an adult.
Yeah.
And then I benefited from that as a kid. I mean, it was great fun though. It was such a cool experience. And we lived in North Carolina for a year, which was such a culture shock as a 10-year-old moving to that kind of Bible Belt type, you know.
Yeah.
And then California was amazing. We loved it there.
And so did you go back to Canada to see Mum's family very often?
Yeah,
or?
we did. Yeah. I mean, we've gone back quite a few times over the years, which is so much fun. My mum is from a place called Regina in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Lol.
Yeah, which is great fun. And it's one of the central provinces that gets super cold in winter. So it's like 30 below in winter. I've gone back for winter before, and it's so much fun. You go like ice fishing and skidooing.
Wow.
Did you eat a lot of poutine in Canada?
I ate so much poutine.
Yeah.
I actually did an internship at CBC Manitoba.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I ate poutine every weekend.
It's funny, I like talking to, we've been getting to know you guys more and the Meet the Team podcast, and I'm like, shit, man, everyone's had such a more exciting life than us. You know what I mean?
Poutine.
It's like, oh, yeah, I was in the Air Force. I eat poutine. I lived in a different country for a while. I'm like, what the heck? I can't even spell poutine. I grew up and I like bunging around the suburbs of Adelaide.
I don't know that eating poutine in Regina is that exotic.
Well, I don't know.
It's a life
I think it's pretty cool.
I think we end this on eating poutine in Regina. That's one of my favourite sentences I've ever heard.
Should we call the podcast Poutine in Regina? No, I think we call it the Ash Gardner episode. Yeah.
Ash, thank you very much.
You're welcome.